Well, I see promise and progress. So I'm feeling really good overall about the health of the organization. Clearly, the minor league system feels like it's turning the corner.
You concerned about Casey Schmidt?
No.
235 the last 15 days.
Yeah, I believe me, I'm well aware. And there's a lot being made of chase rate, this chase rate thing, which is, it's kind of comical to me. I mean, Bonte, it's his first month in the bigs. He's batting over 300. All right? Like, people need to take a deep breath. Do you know right now? Let me ask you this one, because I did some advanced research on this. Almost every single great hitter of all time will tell you the same thing. What do pitchers try to do on the first pitch, Bonte?
Try to get a strike.
Exactly. So what's usually the best couple of pitches to swing at?
Swing at the first pitch.
Early in counts, right? Early in counts. Since 1988, when they started tracking these things, really breaking it down, 2 strike counts. 2 strikes. So it could be 1-2, 2-2, 3-2, 0-2. It doesn't matter. There's only one guy in baseball with a minimum of 3,000 plate appearances who has over a 265 average with 2 strikes.
Barry Bonds?
Nope.
Oh, wow.
Tony Gwynn.
That makes
and he
sense.
batted over 300.
Right.
Hitting with 2 strikes is an art. Okay? It takes a long time to develop that skill.
So what's the adjustment Casey Schmidt needs to make? Because he's batting, look, again, 235 in the last 15 days.
Well, what about the double the night before?
12 of 51 his last 15 days, 12 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases, only the 1 walk. His OPS is under 600. Hell, it's under 550. It's not good.
Okay, now
what adjustment does he need? What does he need to make to get back on track here?
Well, I mean, there's only a handful of guys batting over 300 in the league right now. So what I would say to you is, look at Brandon Crawford. He's under 200.
Okay, but we know that.
Schmidt is doing really fine right now.
We're not comparing Schmidt to Brandon Crawford. We know Crawford is a liability with this bat. For the most of his career, he's batted 230, 240, 250, whatnot.
And he's been basically one of the greatest shortstops in Giants history.
Right. So all I'm asking is, what adjustment does Casey Schmidt need to make
He needs to
get
play
back
every
on track?
day. No, he needs to continue to play every day. Right. And yes, would I like him to take a walk every now and then? For sure. I watched Matt Williams, who was up and down for 3 years, up and down in the majors and the minors. He struck out 140 times his first full season. Now, Matt Williams had infinitely more power than what Casey Schmidt has. Young players are going to have plate discipline issues.
They will.
Not everyone comes up and is a full version of themselves at the plate.
I just want to see what adjustments he makes, because the league has adjusted to him now.
Okay.
And now he's going to see some big boys very, very soon. Of
course.
Especially with the Dodgers and the Padres. Now the Padres pitching.
But haven't you seen more in 1 month from him than Joey Bart in 2 years?
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay.
I have.
Right, and I would also say this, everyone just needs to take a deep breath. The kid's glove is MLB everyday ready, okay? Yeah, the bat has flashed at times. And for me, the bigger thing is, this last weekend, he got exposed. But he had a double in, I believe, Saturday night's game that was that's a big boy hit.
Right.
That's a big boy hit late in the game against an elite player, their closer, who's throwing, a zillion miles an hour, who's absolutely nasty. So I'm totally fine with where Casey Schmidt's at right now.
I just don't want to see him get into a deep slump, man. You lose your confidence, all of a sudden you're batting 200. But right now he's down to 295. Remember, he came out like gangbusters. He's scalding the baseball. Scalding it, hitting all over the place here. Just want to see him make some adjustments. The last 2 weeks hasn't been pretty for him. Patrick Bailey, I like where he's at here. But real quick, thoughts on Hum Baby, man. 93 years old, our first manager. I think people forget that he was a player. Mm-hmm. He won 3 World Series, won a couple with the Brooklyn Dodgers back in the day. But he was part of that movement where Will Clark comes up, Robbie Thompson comes up, and he helped usher that new era in Giants baseball in.
You know how we look at Jim Barnett and I guess to a lesser degree Don Nelson as guys that you can't talk about the history of the league and all these different franchises without somehow referencing them. I look at Roger Craig the same way. You referenced the Brooklyn Dodgers. Started Game 4, their one and only World Series victory in Brooklyn. Huge game for him there. He went on and was part of the upstart San Diego Padres. He went on and was upstart for the New York Mets when he was a player, Padres when he was a coach. The guy lost 18 consecutive games as a pitcher on the 62 Mets, which is unbelievable. And then, what he did as a pitching coach for the Detroit Tigers, I think cemented his legacy in the game. He taught the split finger to Jack Morris, who would end up being one of the great playoff performers of the 80s and 90s.
10 innings. Game 7, 10 innings.
He's an all-timer. And then, I was reading an article last year, and this is to go, kind of full picture here, about Kevin Gausman. Right. And Kevin Gausman has kind of scuffled. This is before he became a Giant. and he found the split finger. And somehow, some way, someone who Roger Craig had taught the split finger to taught the split finger to Kevin Gosman, and it helped resurrect his career. John Burkett talked about him. Mike Krukows talked about him. This is a guy who one pitch has found a way to kind of create a legacy for himself. And yeah, he was a seminal part of our childhood. I started collecting cards in the late 80s. My dad would take me to games. And the Mother's Day game, when they gave out Mother's Day cards, was this seminal moment for me as a baseball fan. It was 1989, and I'll never forget it. And he was wearing that satin windbreaker thing underneath the jersey. And I looked at that card over and over and over and over again. And yeah, Hum Baby was the first mention. That was like my formative years of like understanding what baseball was at the very, very, very beginning of my love. I mean, I was 7 years old. So like Roger Craig means a lot to me. That 89 team means a lot to me. Kevin Mitchell, who loved Roger Craig.
Candy Maldonado.
That was my favorite player.
Candy Maldonado, Will Clark, Robbie Thompson, Kurt Manwaring. These guys, Rick Ruskell. You had Steve Barrosian on that team at the back end.
The caveman.
Closing game. So it was a lot of fun, man. 586 wins, sixth most in Giants history, third most in the San Francisco era. Mr. Hum Baby passed away at the age of 93, a four-time World Series champ. Two at the Dodgers, one at Brooklyn, one in L.A., one at St. Louis, and, of course, one with the Tigers in 84 when they outlasted the San Diego Padres. One at Tony Gwynn's 2 World Series appearances. Roger Craig passed away. I'm sure the Giants will do something to honor him. Long life, man. A baseball lifer. And once he left the Giants, he kind of just went away. He would show up here and there, but he kind of just went away quietly.
Did you see his video last year to Will Clark that went up on
that?
It's really cool.
It was really cool.
Talking about how he doesn't listen to him enough, but like just seeing his face. And, also he helped usher Dusty Baker into the organization for the Giants.
That's what I said. Yeah, I said that. Yeah,
like for me, I look at the transition from Roger Craig to Dusty Baker. How many guys, Bonte, our age, those were their 2 formative guys, right? A lot of us, and so I mean, he means so much to the game, and I think of like the Giants' attitude with the black on. So many of us began to love baseball because of him, and damn, man, it's just he lived a long life. If I live into my 90s, bro, I'll take that as a W.
Yeah, nothing to be sad about. 93 years old, man. He lived a good life. Good life for Roger Craig. He passed away. What's coming up in the game? Sponsored by Fremont Bake, full service baking, no compromises. We'll get back into some hoops. We'll talk about some football. We got a lot going on here on a Monday. George Consos will join us at 8:30 as well. We may have a special guest or two. Forgot to tell Lutman that last night. But we may have a special guest or two coming up on a Morning Rush here on 95.7 The Game.
The Alameda County Fair, June 16th.